Hi everyone, welcome to 40 Fit Food. We are not at our normal location.
No, we are actually visiting with some of our wonderful cousins. One of them's walking around there. Thank you, Billy, for hosting us. My cousin Raquel and their family. And so we are. Oh, by the way, this is 40 Fit Food episode 42.
42.
Right. You see how you like that little rhyming action going on there?
Yes.
Okay, so what we decided is we just came back from a 3-week trip,
Yes.
and we are on our way to another trip.
Yep, we have a convention actually very far west. And so what we thought was we'd stop halfway and kind of get a break from that and, get to visit with some family, which is always very, very nice. And if you have the chance to do that, we wanted to give you some travel strategies that would help you with your keeping your body and mind in tune as you travel around the globe. So if you
Because
do
when
get,
you're 40, it's not so easy
it's
to
not
recover.
so easy. It's
Correct.
not so easy. So, but if you do get a chance and you have like a long connection, or instead if you have family nearby, just make it a layover because that way you get to spend some quality time with some awesome people. And one of the first things we do actually when we land, if you can see, we're out here on the grass, is we're grounding.
Right. So let's break down some strategies. So we've just landed. If you are able to finding some of the local areas, grass to sit, stand, walk around, get a little bit of this
Barefoot preferable.
preferably. And I'm not going to pretend to know all the science behind it, but there is something to you are now in a new location, and to familiarize your body with that. Grounding is having your bare feet on the grass and walking around. So we are lucky that Billy and Raquel have a beautiful backyard, and unlike Florida,
Yeah, they get that nice.
it's not San Augustine grass.
No.
What do you call this grass, Billy?
Grass.
Yeah, and so instead of San
Not
Augustine
Florida
grass,
grass.
this is grass, and so that's a big difference because this is very comfortable. Yeah, thank you. It's like snowing grass here. This is a big difference, and it makes it very comfortable for our feet if you're used to that kind of sharp, turfy like San Augustine grass. So that is option number one once you arrive at your location. The other thing which we have really always tried to do is just to keep going for the day. So even
Yeah,
if
to
you're
get
a little
over jet
bit
lag,
tired,
just push through it.
It just has worked for us.
Yeah.
I have heard of the strategy that sometimes maybe a little bit of a nap might work for you. We've got Eva walking around
Eva's-
there,
Eva's
dragging
Eva's
stuff. We
wants
really
to be
appreciate her. And so
She's grounded.
yeah, she's trying to ground us. And so grounding, and then trying to keep going for the day. And so we're just going to keep going until it's evening time in the local area, and that way we get our good night's rest, and we are ready to start the next day.
Yeah, so we thought we'd give you a quick breakdown of our pre, during, and post travel strategy. So basically,
Pre.
right before the pre, so the day before, if it's going to be a long flight, we like to make sure we're hydrating, eating well, taking all of our vitamins and whatnot. We've talked about this before on
But
this.
specifically, vitamins before we travel is we try to boost up on vitamin C and things that will help boost our immune system. Not promoting anything, but we're fans of Airborne just because it's easy. Pop it in,
And
get
it's
your vitamins,
effervescent.
and the effervescence is very nice. Yes.
Yeah.
And you're getting your liquid as well. So that is one for the vitamins.
Yep. And then pretty much it takes us to getting onto the actual plane. Oh, thank you,
Oh my
sir.
gosh.
Getting onto the plane, the biggest thing here is to hydrate.
It really is helpful when you have someone who's
And-
sharp,
and
who
yeah,
knows what's
you
going
have
on,
like
and is
a
fast,
host
like Billy.
that's just
a great
on it.
host like this
Thank
is
you very
good.
much, Billy.
Yeah. And okay, and so now we're on the plane. Now it's recommended that you drink about a glass of water, a cup of water, for every hour that you're on a plane. So we were on a 6-hour flight, probably about 6 glasses of water.
Yep.
Here's the thing that I would caution you with is if you chug it all too fast, you're going to be up peeing all the time. The
No.
positive part is that you're up and moving around. Yay. The negative part is kind of annoying to be going to the bathroom every 5 minutes.
Also, the airplane bathrooms are not usually my favorite place to visit on the
Right.
airplane.
So I would suggest spacing out those 6 cups of water for your 6-hour flight, not just
Sip
chugging
it.
it.
Sip it.
Always sip responsibly. I would also recommend against, sorry, alcoholics, even though I love my drink, against drinking alcohol in the air because you do get more dehydrated. The air in the airplane is sort of like worse, drier than the Sahara Desert. So, and you kind of can't tell because you're in an air-conditioned little vacuum. So that's why you need more water, but also why you probably don't want to drink alcohol when you're on a plane. So drinking water is very important. And then getting up and moving around is my
Yes.
strategy.
And
Let me
I'm
check
gonna
some
I'm gonna check also to see. Oh my gosh, he's so on it. I'm gonna check to see if you have any questions while you go over your. Because I'm actually not as good about it, but Oscar pretty much doesn't sit on the airplane. He does all sorts of other things, which he's going to take you through. And I'm going to check if you have questions.
Okay. All right. So the first thing is, once I'm sitting down on the airplane, is I do try to continuously be moving, almost like as if I was a person with like a twitchy, ants in their pants type of personality. And so moving my neck side to side, doing shoulder shrugs. Michaela made fun of me and said, "Oh, you exercise on the plane? What do? You do this?" And yeah, I do that. I actually bring a gripper and I squeeze my gripper. I have a lacrosse ball.
Joint mobility.
And I do joint mobility.
So strange that Oscar does joint mobility.
And so there are options for when you're sitting down that don't take up a lot of space, especially as cramped up as we are in those airplanes. Oh my gosh.
You have a question from Raquel Sanchez.
If Billy brings me a chair, holy smokes.
Are there foods to avoid in the air? Salt, sugar, etc.
Okay, so good news is most plane and airline food sucks.
You don't get any.
My wonderful mother-in-law gave me this huge ripe avocado, beautiful avocado last night and said, "Oh, take this for your trip." And so I basically ate half of an avocado on the way to the plane, and I avoided any food that they offered me, and I just drank water. But when you're sitting down, foods to avoid.
The same ones that you should always avoid.
It's the same ones that you should always avoid. Hey, that's actually very good. And I think if you can bring your own healthy snacks.
Yeah.
Yes.
Actually, the flight attendant, she was like, "Wow, that avocado looks amazing. I love avocado." And Oscar was like, "Did you want some?" But it was good.
So basically, I just had half an avocado. That's just me, but you can pack your own healthy snack. Now, if you're sitting down, hopefully the entire time the plane is more straight and you're not now kind of at an angle like this. But one of the things that I like doing is I pick up my leg and I know this is going to sound like I'm throwing out fancy words, but a little bit of hip internal and external rotation. So I pick up my leg, and my knee being the pivot point, I try to externally rotate, which is bringing my foot towards the inside as much as I can. And then the hard part is trying to internally rotate as much as I can. So that alone is getting my hips to do something other than just being sitting and static.
And actually, while I'm waiting for the bathroom, I often will do like that kind of same movement, or even just the basic joint mobility.
And if this is another way to do it, unfortunately, sometimes we're not able to straighten our legs. Luckily, we were in the bulkhead and the emergency exit, so I was able to kind of straighten out my leg and also do external rotation with no flexion of the knee. My leg was straight, and I'm also always moving my my ankles. I usually keep my shoes on just because I don't want to gross people out and show them my toes, but if you can move your toes, that's also great. For the upper body, I am moving my wrists, I'm moving my elbows, and then if I can do, without bothering anyone, some internal,
without like hitting somebody while you're on the
external rotation, internal, external rotation, external rotation. I'm always kind of doing things like that throughout the plane.
And
while
sometimes,
sitting.
there's an area of the plane that has some space and some room, and Oscar's often in that area pretty much throughout the whole thing.
Yeah, and so
why don't you show them your knee?
Oh, actually, I'll use the same chair.
Your
so this
quad
is
stretch.
probably not the most comfortable chair to do it on, but as you know, on the plane, you've got a cushioned seat that you can be on, and as long as you're not pulling on the chair in front of you and you have a little bit of space, and if you don't mind putting your knee on the chair, I actually put my knee on the chair and my foot back like so, and I'm pretty much standing like this, stretching my hip flexor, because
He does.
Sitting down in general, our hip flexors get shortened, like so, and so opening them up will help you so that when you get off of the plane after being there, that you're not sitting down for 6 hours, that your hips will feel better. And so what does that mean? That means that when you're walking, you're not walking like this. I'm going to exaggerate. And then you try to straighten up and your back goes in a weird direction. You're walking kind of like, what would you call this?
I don't know. But
That's my Planet of the Apes.
Yes,
impersonation.
but
Okay.
there is validity also, like when you're walking or just even walking up and down the plane, when it's safe and when the seatbelt sign is off, to just actually like really exaggerate the walking a little, just so you get a little bit more blood flow. We also wear compression socks.
You reminded me. Yeah, as soon as the plane takes off, or even right before we get on the plane, compression socks, bam, plane is right up there. Compression socks, just because that helps kind of with the circulation of your legs. And it's not just because we're 40 years old. I think anybody should do it, whether you're 20, 40, 50, 60, it doesn't matter. compression socks are really important. When I am standing up, I do a lot of the same things that I do from sitting, but just with a little bit from a different angle, right? I clasp my hands behind
and
me.
you're not really worried
I do
about
big
people
neck
looking at you
circles.
blindly.
I don't care what people think about me as much, right? So I'm doing things like this. I'm doing thoracic mobility where I hug and do some thoracic circles, right?
Yeah.
I practice some dance moves sometimes, but it just depends.
Yeah,
It
it depends what you're listening to.
Right, depends on what I'm listening to. If there's a little bit of space, I will even just like kappa squat, papa squat,
Kappa squat.
kappa squat. I kappa squat. I have my my
Nothing
people help me.
pops, hopefully,
Yeah,
no squat.
and so sometimes I hang out here, and then let me tell you something. Toe touch squat is really one of the best exercises to do,
Yeah.
even as we do for our warm-ups for in class. Is a great thing to do because you don't need a lot of space. So if you can, and you can't go into a low squat, you just touch your toes, pull yourself down to where as low as you can, whether that's here or however low it is, and then stand up. Toe touch.
But very
squat,
important
very
that
good.
where you're facing is not going to be in
Right.
anybody's
Let's say that there was
area.
someone sitting there. You don't want to be. You
Toe
probably
touch
don't want to
squat.
be toe touch squatting.
Probably not, unless you
Yeah.
know them and you know.
Right.
But a thing I like to do also is like usually where the flight attendants sit, the
Mm-hmm.
jump seats, I usually put my back up against there. And if I'm in the squat, I like to just do the priming,
Yep.
moving back and forth. If you have your squat,
Prying.
but prying and just like even just the basic movement. If you don't want to look too weird, this is just to kind of stay loose and keep nice circulation. So that's our on the plane.
On the plane.
And then off the plane, the grounding.
It really helps also if you go to a place and you get welcomed by your
Yes.
family. They pick you up, they offer you food
Yeah,
and
home-cooked
water,
food.
and
Which
a
is
really
why-
awesome. Yeah, they're really awesome
Cheers.
hosts.
Which is also why
Cheers.
we decided to do a stopover on the way to the convention,
Yeah.
since it was the connection. Anyway, we said, you know what, let's just stay an extra day, so that way we get the visit in and maximize our efficiency and our itinerary,
Right.
get the most done.
And I will say that I know some of our Control Your Health, our strivers are big travelers. Shout out to Keith who goes to China like 3 times a year.
I'm sure he's doing
He
these
probably
on the plane.
has a ton of strategies for these because I've talked to him about this before, and
He's watching, actually.
his response was, "Oh, it's not a problem. Like I can go to China, no jet lag. I can come back to the U.S. no jet lag." So
That's
I would
experience,
I
though.
would say if you want to know how not to have jet lag, he's a great resource for that. But these are the things that I do that help me out because one of the worst things is when you travel is arriving and feeling crap. Like when we arrive somewhere, we want to be able to go.
Yeah, well, because also you're squeezing in, since we're here, you're gonna squeeze in meeting up with some kettlebell
Right.
coaches and stuff. So we're trying to get the most
Yes.
out
That's
of our
amazing.
visit. So and we got our props, our prop master Billy Sanchez.
So
here
let me tell you
with,
something.
B12 and CoQ10.
I'm not a pharmacist or a doctor or pretend to be one, but I do say that I do take a CoQ10 and a vitamin B12 every single day, and it's a nice little boost when you are traveling as well.
Especially if you don't have a choice and you forgot your avocado at home and you're really hungry, we don't want you to starve.
Consult
and you
with your
have to
doctor.
eat that other food. A lot of these things can kind of help give you a boost. I'm going to check if you have
Okay,
questions.
the last thing I'll say about food, I'll bring it back to food, is if you've ever done intermittent fasting before, intermittent fasting could be where you basically fast for a bulk of the day and then you eat for a certain amount of time, and any time between 6 to 8 hours of eating, mixed in with 12 plus hours of fasting, however that works. And so if you have a flight, preparing for it beforehand and planning to fast on the flight and just thinking of that's the time where you're going to be drinking water is also a great strategy. Because let's face it, even if you're on first class, the food's just not that good. I'm sorry, it's not. And we won't name any airlines, but it's just not. And so you can choose that time to fast, and I guarantee you that you won't die.
Just think
if you
about
miss a
eating
meal.
something delicious when you land.
Exactly.
Better choice. Or having someone cook something delicious for
So
you,
that's
like
all I
Billy
got.
did for us today.
Oh yeah, exactly. Again,
Big shout out to Raquel, Billy, and Gabriel and Michaela and Eva for hosting us and on our layover.
and for grass.
And yes, and
Right,
allowing
grass.
us to come here and get fed and nurtured, because that's always really important. So
Yep.
that's
That's all
for
that I
44
got. So
so
we
we'll see
appreciate
you
it.
next week at
7:45
7:45 Eastern Standard
EST,
Time.
EST.
And if you have questions, always let us know. Thanks for tuning in.